Snoop Dogg's story can't be told without the men who protected him, pushed him, and nearly died beside him. From Big C's style shaping Snoop's early rise to Tupac escalating the danger inside death row, today we're breaking down what happened to the deadliest affiliates who defines Snoop's most violent era. Suge Knight. Before we talk about anyone else, we have to start with the man who made it all possible and whose shadow still looms over everything. Marion Hugh Suge Knight Jr., born April 19, 1965 in Compton, California, earned his nickname Sugar Bear as a child, but there was nothing sweet about the empire he would build. Standing at 6'2" and over 300 pounds, Knight was the intimidating architect of Death Row Records, the label that launched Snoop Dogg into superstardom. Knight's path to hip-hop royalty was unconventional. After playing defensive end at UNLV alongside future NFL stars, he briefly joined the Los Angeles Rams as a replacement player during the 1987 NFL strike. When football didn't pan out, Knight pivoted to the music industry, first as a bodyguard for acts like Bobby Brown, then as a concert promoter who understood that intimidation was its own form of currency. In 1991, Knight co-founded Death Row Records with Dr. Dre and the Doc, securing a distribution deal with Intercope. The label exploded with Dre's 1992 solo debut, The Chronic, and then came Snoop. Snoop's 1993 debut, Doggy Style, debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200, selling over 800,000 copies in its first week. But Knight's methods were as brutal as his ambitions were grand. His mob Piru Bloods affiliation colored every business decision. He allegedly pressured artists into deals using threats, and his 1995 Source Awards diss at Sean Puffy Combs ignited the East-West feud that would claim lives. The relationship between Snoop and Sug was symbiotic, but toxic. Death Row provided global fame, but Snoop chafed under the label's chaos. By 1998, amid financial woes and Knight's legal troubles, Snoop departed from Master P's No Limit Records. He later formed Doggy Style Records and publicly blamed Knight for Tupac's 1996 murder.
I stood up for these and didn't appreciate it. So when I got locked up, these cheered. What you say, these what? Who in the black? Mother in the industry.
Suge Knight's downfall was spectacular. On January 29, 2015, he ran over Terry Carter and injured Cleabone Sloan in a Compton parking lot, pleading no contest of voluntary manslaughter. In 2018, he drew a 28-year sentence under California's 3 strikes law. As of November 2025, Knight remains incarcerated at R.J. Donovan Correctional Facility in San Diego. His health is declining. Blood clots and weight issues have been reported. Rumors of an October 2025 parole for good behavior circulated on Instagram, but court records contradict these claims. His parole eligibility isn't until October 2034, when he'll be 69 years old. From prison, Knight stays relevant through phone interviews and a Breakbeat Media podcast. He's weighed in on Diddy's legal troubles, warned Combs to take responsibility, and alleged secret tapes exist implicating various stars. Suge Knight was Snoop's deadliest affiliate, the man who catapulted him to icon status while dragging him into violence's orbit. But Suge Knight was only the beginning. Because once you step out of the CEO's shadow, you start to see the cracks inside Snoop's own circle, and no relationship fell apart harder than the one he had with his own cousin, Daz Dillinger. Family ties don't guarantee loyalty, just ask Daz Dillinger. Born Delmart Drew Arnault on May 25, 1973 in Long Beach, California, Daz wasn't just Snoop's collaborator, he was his cousin. His bloodline reads like hip-hop royalty. Cousins include Snoop Dogg, R&B stars Brandy and Ray J, and WWE's Mercedes Moné. Signed to Death Row at age 19 after Snoop vouched for him, Daz apprenticed under Dr. Dre, soaking up production tricks that would define an era. His breakthrough came with uncredited beats on Dre's The Chronic, but his true impact was felt on Snoop's debut. Daz Goes produced most of Doggy Style tracks like Gin and Juice and Who Am I, What's My Name, though Dre took primary credit. With Corrupt, Daz formed Thou Dog Pound, whose 1995 debut, Dog Food, went platinum. His production peaked with Tupac's All Eyes on Me, delivering 5 tracks, including the explosive Ambitions as a Rider and 2 of America's Most Wanted. But the cracks appeared early. Daz first aired grievances in the early 2010s, feeling sidelined as Snoop's star rose, while royalties from Doggy Style and Tupac tracks trickled unfairly.
Snoop comes to y'all and says, we want y'all to be the first album to drop on a new Death Row. Because one thing I noticed, on the album. I think I got an exclusive copy. I'm not sure, but it says Death Row and Tapes.
The flashpoint came when Snoop bought Death Row in 2022 for $8.8 million. Daz, who owns masters via copyright reversion after 35 years, expected inclusion. Instead, exclusion followed. In August 2025, Daz blasted Death Row online, posting a bullet-scarred logo and calling Snoop Snoop Knight. In September 2025, Daz announced Retaliation, Revenge, and Get Back 3, a 12-track disc project targeting Snoop and Death Row. The nadir hit in November 2025 when Daz revealed Snoop kicked him off Death Row over publishing disputes. In a Shade 45 interview, Daz described confronting Snoop about a snubbed gig, with Snoop demanding he sign over his catalog. Daz refused, valuing his house, Tupac royalties, dog pound cuts over label perks. As of November 2025, Daz thrives independently via DPG Records, having dropped Rotation, his 23rd solo LP and third of 2025. His net worth sits around $400,000 from beats, royalties, and independent releases. Daz's deadliest tag endures not from violence, but from verbal artillery and sonic strikes. As he told Complex, "You get into it all the time, I ain't going back." And while Daz went to war over publishing and respect, another cousin faced a completely different battle, one fueled by rumors, conspiracy theories, and a decades-long cloud surrounding a West Coast mystery, Lil Half Dead. Some artists fade into obscurity. Others become the subject of murder conspiracies. Lil Half Dead, born Donald Dwayne Smith on September 13, 1974 in Long Beach, was Snoop's cousin and a key figure in the early Death Row ecosystem. His stage name draws from the character Half Dead in the 1979 film Penitentiary. His breakthrough came via a shout-out on Dr. Dre's Lil Ghetto Boy from The Chronic. This exposure landed him on the 1993 Chronic tour. His 1994 debut, The Dead Has Arisen, peaked at number 52 on Billboard's R&B hip-hop chart, earning praise for its polished production. His second album, Still on a Mission, arrived in May 1996, but charted lower amid minimal promo and no major features from family members. Death Row's collapse left him isolated. Then came the conspiracy theories. In 2012, Dead Serious dropped with an infamous cover, a manipulated photo of a bloody Tupac and Yaki Gaddafi in a casket. This sparked wild speculation, tying Little 1-2 Dead to Tupac's murder. Theories claim Tupac stole the concept for Brenda's Got a Baby from a demo Lil 1-2 Dead shared, and that Death Row security head, Reginald Wright Jr., allegedly selected Lil 1-2 Dead as the shooter for revenge. These claims remain unproven, detailed in Greg Caden's murder rap, but dismissed by most as tabloid fodder. Lil 1-2 Dead declined to comment to Vice, but the controversy tainted his indie comeback. At 51, he's carved a niche as a Long Beach elder statesman. As CEO of 1 to 2 Time Records, he mentors locals and drops singles like Grown Man Business 2025. His Instagram shows recent activity: March 2025 drafts, August collaborations, and October posts honoring his debut's 31st anniversary. Lil 1-2 Dead's arc mirrors many 90s affiliates. Bri and Burst amid chaos, then quiet grind. Snoop's Supernova cast a long shadow, but his cousin's story endures as a testament to West Coast roots, unkillable, even if half dead. But to understand Snoop's deadliest era, you also have to look at the streets of Long Beach, because one man shaped Snoop's early rise more than almost anyone, long before the fame, the albums, or the chaos of Death Row. Big C Style. Some legends work in shadows. Big C Style is one of them. Born Christopher Bowden in Birmingham, Alabama, but raised in Long Beach, California, Big C Style was one of Snoop's earliest and most loyal street-level affiliates. His story begins with one of hip-hop's most legendary first encounters. In the late 1980s, Big C Style spotted a young Calvin Brodus chatting up girls near his block and approached with a drawn pistol, mistaking him for trouble. Instead of escalating, they talked it out, shared laughs, and bonded over shared Long Beach roots. That moment of potential violence became the foundation of an unbreakable alliance. Post-release from a minor jail bed, Big C Style turned his garage into an impromptu studio, hosting Snoop, Nate Dogg, and Warren G for late-night freestyles. He provided beats, security, and street wisdom. He chauffeured Snoop to Dr. Dre's Calabasas home daily during the Chronic era, waiting outside like a sentinel. But the streets extracted their toll. Shortly after those garage sessions, Big C Style was shot in the drive-by, sidelining him for a full year of recovery. Emerging scarred, but unbroken, he doubled down on music. By 1993, Big C Style assembled the LBC Crew, the first group executive produced by Snoop and signed with Doggy Style Records. Their work influenced Snoop's To Hard Dog Father, and Big C Style's 19th Street compilations kept the flame alive.
The deadliest reputation solidified during the 1997 Echo Sound Studio massacre. During a session with South Central Cartel affiliates, gunmen ambushed the studio. Bullets came everywhere, killing Lil Drawers and wounding multiple rappers. A soda machine jammed the door, sparing Big C Style and Daz Dillinger inside. Snoop and Big C Style had gotten into a road rage incident on the freeway with what turned out to be a female cop, where they allegedly pointed a gun at her. But the real tragedy was business betrayal. By 1996, cracks emerged. Snoop locked into death row contracts, sidelined LBC crew projects. Big C Style claimed Snoop lowballed him as A&R instead of an equity partner, pocketing royalties from LBC features. At 50 plus, Big C Style is thriving independently via 19th Street Records, with recent drops including Ghetto Ego November 2025 and All In October 2025. He's reconciled somewhat with Snoop. Throwback posts show mutual respect, but the scars linger. Big C Style's arc mirrors the Nine's rap grind, glory laced with gunshots and greed. He's not a household name, but in Long Beach lore, he's the unbreakable spine behind the Dogfather's throne. Still, none of these stories compared to the presence that changed Snoop's life in hip-hop forever. Because when Tupac ended death row, everything intensified: the music, the culture, and the danger. Tupac Shakur. No discussion of Snoop's deadliest affiliates can exist without addressing the most iconic and tragic of them all. Tupac Amaru Shakur, born June 16, 1971, wasn't just a rapper. He was a poet, activist, actor, and symbol of the turbulent Nines. His partnership with Snoop at death row produced some of hip-hop's most legendary moments and deepened the deadly East-West feud that would claim his life. The bond was formed when Suge Knight bailed Tupac out of Rikers Island for $1.4 million in October 1995. Snoop later claimed he was the catalyst, telling Tupac during a prison visit to come to death row. The collaboration peaked on All Eyes on Me, featuring the iconic Two of America's Most Wanted. But tensions emerged. Outlaws member Napoleon claimed Snoop envied Tupac's work ethic and spotlight. Tupac's diss tracks like Hit 'Em Up escalated the coastal rivalry. And in the weeks before his death, Tupac reportedly distanced himself from Snoop. Because right now, we side by side hitting him up through this whole industry, through this whole world. We hitting him up side by side. On September 7, 1996, Tupac was shot in a drive-by in Las Vegas. He took 4 bullets, 2 to the chest, 1 to the arm, 1 to the thigh, and succumbed on September 13th at age 25. The case remained cold for 27 years until Dwayne Keffy D. Davis was arrested in September 2023, charged as the alleged coordinator. Davis has claimed Diddy offered a $1 million bounty on Tupac and Knight, allegations Combs' team dismisses as fiction. The trial has been delayed to 2026 for possible new evidence. Snoop's reflections reveal raw grief. One of my biggest regrets is not squashing things with Tupac before he passed. I didn't even get the chance. Tupac sold 75 million records worldwide with 11 #1 hits. His deadliest edge, unflinching calls for revolution, lives in samples by Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole. For Snoop, Tupac wasn't just an affiliate, he was the brother who made death row legendary at the ultimate cost. But outside the studio lights and platinum records, there were men operating in total darkness, and one of them was responsible for protecting Snoop and Tupac from threats the public never saw: Aaron Heron Palmer. Some men are remembered for their music. Aaron Heron Palmer is remembered for something far darker. Palmer was a high-ranking member of the mob Piru Bloods from Compton and head of security for Death Row Records. His reputation as the deadliest affiliate stemmed from unverified claims that he was responsible for up to 17 killings, earning him mythic status as a stone-cold hitter who operated in the shadows of fame. Palmer wasn't just security. He was Suge Knight's right-hand man for handling threats. Engineers and insiders described the moment of acceptance when Palmer vetted you personally, declaring, "You got to be with us now." It meant you had made it in Death Row's treacherous hierarchy. His connection to Snoop was indirect but profound. Despite the blood script divide, Snoop being a Rolling 20 script, Death Row bridged these worlds under Suge's iron-fisted rule. Palmer's role extended to safeguarding Snoop during high-risk periods, deterring threats amid the escalating Bad Boy Death Row feud. Palmer was part of the entourage at the infamous 1996 MGM Grand beating of Orlando Baby Lane Anderson mere hours before Tupac's fatal shooting.
With a big reputation. A local congresswoman once described him as one of the new young black entrepreneurs. Others describe him as a thug. In any event, the death row lifestyle that earned him a big reputation. On June 1st, 1997, Palmer was gunned down in a brazen ambush. Driving his black Toyota 4Runner home from a death row party in Compton, he stopped at a red light near Rose Avenue and Santa Fe Avenue. A dark van pulled up. 2 gunmen unleashed a hail of bullets, over a dozen shots, striking Palmer multiple times. He died at the scene. The hit was retaliation in the Piru Civil War. Palmer's mob Peru set clashed with Fruittown Peru over territory, drug turf, and death row loyalties. His murder triggered a bloodbath. Over the next year, at least 5 more Suge associates were killed in tit-for-tat shootings. Palmer's story has been portrayed in Unsolved 2018 and dissected in books like Murder Rap. His legacy underscores hip-hop's dark underbelly, where affiliates kept the throne intact, only to become collateral in the throne's wars. And Palmer wasn't the only soldier whose life ended violently. In fact, the war surrounding death row spilled into other cities, other crews, and ultimately ignited a feud that shook hip-hop to its core. Big Jake Robles. Every war has its first casualty. In the death row bad boy conflict, that casualty was Big Jake Robles, Jamal Hassan. Big Jake Robles was an original gangster affiliated with the Campanella Park, Balat, Peru, and one of Suge Knight's most trusted associates. Before fully immersing himself in music, Robles was a fixture in Compton's underground economy, running spots that supplied cannabis to locals and early industry figures. In 1994, alongside DJ Quick, he co-founded Hollow Point Records, distributed through Death Row. Robles' connection to Snoop came through Death Row's ecosystem. Though not a direct musical collaborator, he functioned as a protective for the entire roster during tours and high-stakes events. Snoop later reflected on figures like Robles as the deadly enforcers who kept the West Coast machine running. The incident that claimed Robles' life occurred on September 23, 1995 at the after-party for Jermaine Dupri's birthday bash in Atlanta. The event was a powder keg, Death Row and Bad Boy attendees under one roof. Tension simmered from earlier slights. Knight had publicly humiliated Puff at the 1995 Source Awards. As the night wore on, Robles confronted Anthony Wolf Jones, Puff's longtime bodyguard. The exchange escalated into a brawl. Amid the chaos, shots rang out. Robles was hit multiple times. He died at Grady Memorial Hospital on October 6, 1995, at age 29. Wolf Jones became the prime suspect, though he was never charged. The case went cold as witnesses recanted under pressure from both coasts. Jones himself met a violent end on November 11, 2003, gunned down in Atlanta's Club Chaos. Robles' death was the feud's first blood, transforming lyrical jabs into a cycle of vengeance that claimed Tupac and Biggie. Snoop publicly called for peace months later during a 1996 press conference alongside Puff Daddy, urging an end to the bloodshed. Nearly 30 years later, Robles is mythologized as the spark of hip-hop's deadliest chapter. But some of Snoop's deadliest associates weren't killed. They stood beside him in moments when his own life hung in the balance. And one of them ended up at the center of a murder trial that nearly ended Snoop's career before it began. Malik Lee. The 1993 murder case that nearly ended Snoop's career before it truly began. That story belongs to Malik Lee. McKinley Malik Lee was Snoop Dogg's personal bodyguard during the height of Death Row's dominance. Born in Chicago and raised in Iowa, Lee was a physically imposing figure, 6'5" and over 250 pounds, who dreamt of law enforcement before transitioning to security work. In 1992, while working as a bouncer at the Red Onion nightclub, Lee first crossed paths with Snoop and Suge Knight. Weeks later, he was hired as Snoop's full-time bodyguard, living next door to Snoop in the Culver City apartment complex. On August 25, 1993, in the Palms neighborhood of Los Angeles, a parking dispute escalated into tragedy. Snoop and Lee encountered Philip Woodarium, a 20-year-old alleged buy-yourself hustlers gang member. According to Lee, Woodarium reached for a gun. Lee, with an unlicensed 9mm pistol, fired 6 shots. Woodarium was struck and later died. 2 days later, they turned themselves in. Snoop was charged as an accessory after the fact. Lee faced first-degree murder with no bail. He spent 18 months in maximum security prison awaiting trial.
I'm gonna hold back and I'll see at the time, the deceased, I see him arguing with whomever, and at that time I saw
A March 2025 reunion with Suge Knight from prison was emotional, the first talk in 29 years. Suge hailed Lee's loyalty, acknowledging the sacrifice that enabled Doggy Style and All Eyes on Me. At 55, Lee has pivoted to motivational speaking and authorship, using his story to mentor youth. He hopes for a Snoop conversation to give back, but stands firm. I saved his life. That's my story. Yet Snoop's circle didn't just include protectors. It included lyrical assassins who brought the same energy in real life that they delivered on the mic, and none embodied that duality more than Trey D. Trey D's verses could kill. Turns out, so could his trigger finger. Born Alonzo Smith on April 27, 1966 in Long Beach, California, Trey D has long been revered as one of West Coast gangster rap's rawest voices. Affiliated with the Insane Crips, his unfiltered street narratives made him Snoop's most lethal lyrical affiliate. His breakthrough came in 1993 on Serial Killer from Doggy Style, where his verse set the murderous tone. By 1999, after Snoop's fallout with Death Row, Trey co-formed Thaw Eastsiders with Snoop and Goldilocks. Their debut, Deuces and Trees, peaked at number 4 on the Billboard 200, but Trey's deadliest persona caught up with him in real life.
They could have killed us. They had a sniper sniping from like a mile away. And we was in a trailer smoking a blunt, and Snoop got up to pass me the blunt. And it was like, I heard something and the window shattered. And so I grabbed Snoop and threw him on the floor. On November 8, 2003, driving on Pacific Coast Highway, Trey spotted a car full of Bloods, his sworn rivals, and opened fire, shattering the windshield. It was a classic gang hit, retaliatory, impulsive.
Arrested hours later, Trey faced up to 122 years if convicted at trial. He pleaded no contest to assault with a deadly weapon. On February 2, 2005, Trey was sentenced to 12 years in California's prison system. The bid shattered Thaw Eastsiders. Snoop and Goldie continued as a duo, but the group's dynamic was irreparably altered. Prison was an idle time. Trey penned Streets Gon' Cry, a semi-autobiographical novel. He stayed connected to music, smuggling verses out for features. Paroled in October 2014 after serving 9 years, Trey hit the ground running. He dropped mixtapes, reunited with Snoop, and Thaw Eastsiders reformed sporadically. Post-prison interviews revealed growth. He quit hard drugs, focused on family, and distanced himself from active gang life. But beefs linger. Rumors persist of tension with Snoop over publishing splits. In 2019, Trey was punched at a Snoop party by someone connected to his case, leading to brief hospitalization. At 59, Trey remains a West Coast elder statesman, active but low-key. His legacy proof that in Snoop's orbit, the most dangerous dogs often bite themselves. But even amid violence, prison sentences, and gang politics, loyalty didn't die, because one affiliate stayed 10 toes down through every era, a survivor who carried the Eastsiders' legacy when no one else could. Goldilocks. Not every story ends in tragedy. Some end in triumph. Goldilocks, born Kiwan Desan Spillman on January 16, 1974 in Long Beach, California, emerged as one of West Coast's rawest gangster rap voices. Affiliated with the Rollin' 20s Crips, his unfiltered street narratives made him Snoop's lyrical enforcer. By 1999, Snoop reformed Thaw Eastsiders, himself, Trey D, and Goldilocks, signing to Doggy Style Records. Their debut, Snoop Dogg Presents Thaw Eastsiders, went platinum, debuting at number 5 on the Billboard 200. Goldie's verses stood out for their menace. The deadliest rep earned through mic murders, not street killings. But Trey's 2003 conviction shattered everything. Without his foil, Thaw Eastsiders dissolved. Goldie pressed on solo, dropping Still Eastsidin' in 2005, but it underperformed commercially amid hip-hop's shift to Southern trap. A pivotal moment shaped his outlook. In a 2001 interview, Goldie revealed witnessing a woman shooting outside his studio, right in front of my eyes, which changed my whole life around. It fueled introspective bars, but amplified his weariness of street life. The real spark came with Snoop's 2022 Death Row acquisition. Trey's April 2014 release from prison sparked embers, and on February 9, 2022, Goldie confirmed a new Thaw Eastsiders album. After 22 years, they dropped Still Easty on October 25, 2024, a 7-track EP on Death Row Records. It reignited buzz with fans hyping the reunion. On Bootleg Kev's podcast in November 2024, Goldie detailed grinding solo during Trey's bid. I kept the name alive, Eastsiders, don't quit. As of November 2025, Goldie is active on Instagram, posting July 2025 teasers of beats and new material. He's touring West's Best Volume 1 in December 2025 with E40, Exhibit, and Warren G. A November 2025 reel shows him Snoop and Trey preaching love and unity in Long Beach. Goldie's arc from Snoop's shadow to solo survivor mirrors West Coast rap's evolution. His deadliest edge? It's the survivor's code, forged in loss but tempered by loyalty. At 51, that team's winning again. Well, that's it for this video, but don't go anywhere because we've got plenty more heat for you. Just tap any of the cards on your screen right now and keep it locked.